This can't be real. It has to be a fantasy. Nothing here can be really what's happening. Everything I'm seeing, reality is fading away from me. This can't be real. Am I Flight Quest? Am I an illusion? What am I? What am I? What am I? What even am I? I don't even recognize my own hands. My own hands! I don't even know what's happening to me anymore. It feels like the fabric of humanity is crushing all beyond. I don't know what's going on anymore. It's almost like I'm an inferior product of an even better version of a game.
Heard zombies great.
I hope you have many prayers in your soul, because we're going to a place that has much pain for me. Dead Rising 4. Now, the first thing to note is Dead Rising 4 I'm playing on the PS4, which was originally an Xbox One game, the original year it came out, and then it would later get the PS4 version, which would be called Frank's Big Package, and a crude and shitty name, honestly. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that Dead Rising is some fancy hierarchy type thing. It's had lowbrow humor, but I don't know. It just feels like a new, low calling it that myself. But that's just me. The other things to note about this in the footage you'll see is you might see me get a trophy or two in the gameplay and wonder why I'm getting that if I've completed this game. Well, the PS4 version of this game will not grant you trophies unless you update the game. You can go through the entirety of the game offline with no updates, but trophies are broken unless you update. So I actually never got any trophies until any I might potentially get in this gameplay. The other thing to go into is Frank Rising, which was DLC for the original Xbox One version. It does come with this version, however, it is not in the physical build, which is utter bullshit. When this should have been a comprehensive version of all that, it suffers Dead Rising 2 syndrome in having story add-on not be part of the fucking physical build in any point. But it is a free update, so I guess there's that. And we'll get to Frank Rising when we get there. But we're here to talk about the base game for now. So, the base game. So, Capcom Vancouver. They made Dead Rising 2, they made Dead Rising 3, they made Off the Record, not in that order, but now we have Dead Rising 4, and I gotta tell you, I remember when Dead Rising 3 came out and everyone thought that game was blasphemy. And I totally understand why. Because, you know, I've played through it myself now. But I gotta tell you, that game is a fucking black sheep compared to fucking Dead Rising 4. This game is an abomination in every fucking form imaginable to me. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, first, let's talk about the setup for this game. So, Frank is back. I like Frank. Frank is cool and everything. Sadly, Capcom's done Frank bad over and over again after, Off the Record. After that, it's like all his appearances in crossover games and shit have almost always been awful and shit after that. I think he had one crossover where they actually got the original voice actor back. And the voice actor wanted to actually do his role, but for some reason Capcom either didn't want to have him, or that there was lies about this, and there's more to the story, and we'll probably never know until more information comes out. Though, according to the developers, they wanted somebody who was more gritty. Sadly, I think Capcom missed the memo that, like, usually a popular character's voice actor usually gets very heavily attached to the character. So, unless they're doing a pretty good impersonation or the actor is dead, most people will usually always frown on the actor being changed on a popular character. So, yeah, not a good look.
In the neck?
I tripped.
You sucker punched the president in the neck?
You just love making me look like an asshole, don't you? You know, you should have been a tabloid journalist.
Oh, screw you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Touchy subject. Both your parents were killed by tabloid journalists.
Ha
Where are we going anyway?
Just hear me out.
You said we were gonna go play mini golf.
Respectfully, Professor, I can't actually believe you fell for that.
I love mini golf.
On top of that, it's not like they're even trying to be Frank. Frank is just terrible in this game. He's like a fucking, like, dad-joking spewed hellhole. Like, the fuck. Anyway, again, I'm spewing out of control here. So, Frank's return. So, Frank has been dragged into another conspiracy that happens to ironically take place at the Wilton Mall. Now, you might be like, the Wilton Mall is back? Well, yes, the mall has been rebuilt after its horrifying destruction in the first game, and it just happens this year they're going to have, like, an anniversary thing for it. Of course, zombies come in time. Now, I will say, we will be talking about spoilers for the past games in this, because it is necessary to talk about, because of how much blasphemy this game does to the overall story. Retcons and fuckery is completely in this game. So, if you haven't played through the past games, I'm just giving you a warning. We will be talking about those things because it's necessary to understand how fucked up this game does the story dirty. So, if you played through Dead Rising series, you know that the original person who caused the outbreak infected a bunch of children and supposedly had one child that had a cure, and you find that out in Dead Rising 3, and the person who has a cure gets spreaded, and basically the zombie apocalypse shit that plagued the series was solved. Zombieism was cured. So, zombies were no longer a thing. So, the way zombies were brought back is really fucking weird. So, basically, the developers designed a new conspiracy that was happening at the mall before and during Dead Rising 1. Now, I won't spoil Dead Rising 4's plot completely here. I don't usually do that. I just want to explain the setup mainly here, but we'll get into that in its own spoiler section deeper with that. But basically, they made a retcon to force to make a reason for zombies to be back, a new plague zombie strain, and it fucks with the original storyline. Like, honestly, if they ever touch the same universe Dead Rising storyline again, they should just retcon this entry out and just make a new Dead Rising 4, because this game, it makes no sense and it fucks with the storyline so much. But yeah, zombies are back. They're a new strain, and the previous cure does not work on them. So yikes, that's not good. That means Frank's back on the menu, and everyone else with him. Now, Frank gets involved because he's dragged along with a student to go check out these government experiments. And sadly for him, they accidentally fuck up, get ran out, and Frank kind of lays low as a new identity, which was probably the only good joke that really happens in this game, to be honest. After that, Frank gets recruited by Brad to come and check out the mall and try to figure out what the fuck happened after they snuck in to see what the government was doing. And there you go. That's the start of the opening. You're left in the mall and you'll get access to the town. Now, Unlike OG Dead Rising 1, you do not just have the mall. Unlike Dead Rising 2, you do not simply have a small amount of little outside areas. Like Dead Rising 3, you have a giant town in the mall. So the mall, outside the mall, you basically have a multi-city system circling the entire mall with bridges connecting them, similar to like how Dead Rising 3 was. So it's basically a slightly more of an expansion of Dead Rising 3 with a giant mall in the middle. Now, the Wilmette mall that we built does not share any similarities with the original one. So there's no nostalgicness in that, which is a bit of a shame because honestly, that could have been an slightly interesting thing, but the mall is pretty not as memorable in my opinion. But to be honest, that probably is more because of everything else. Like a memorable experience is a big package, and when everything else sucks, that is harder to actually be memorable. So admittedly, that's on a lot of the other things. So similar to past games, this does have a case-to-case system, so you're going to be going through certain segments of the game in cases. Unlike the other entries, this game does not have a timer. They removed the timer, a core concept of the game, out. Which, of course, was upsetting. Now, Dead Rising 3 was all way fucking easy. I went through that game as blind as I ever was able to without, like, the minimal things I ever learned about over the time of, you know, the years of never having Xbox One and shit. And I did basically everything. There's one minor thing where I could have ended one person's scenario slightly different and actually gotten them as a recruitable character. They were the only recruitable character I missed. Yikes. So you don't have a time system. Basically, as you progress the main story, the time in the world will then progress. Otherwise, it's basically just frozen, letting you do whatever things you can do, either run around just the open world or save people and things. As you play the game, you will get calls and things telling you about people to get saved and that. So you're basically given infinite time to do all the side shit before you continue the storylines. For people who don't like the timer, that's probably pretty cool for you. But for the mainline fans, no. Similar to Dead Rising 3, they continued the skill system being a choice, where in Dead Rising 1, 2, and Off the Record, they were random spin-offs. I don't actually remember how Chop Till You Drop does. I mean, I did play that one all the way through, but that was a long time ago, and that used the RE4 engine on the Wii doing that. So I don't quite remember how that one dealt with it. I think it was random, just like the originals, but I'm not sure. But, you know, that's a spin-off game. Anyway, you get to choose your skills, and you have a lot of categories in this one compared to 3. 3 basically stuck to the main formula. 4 just broke out into all kinds of shit. And to be honest, it really depends on your playstyle on what things you're going to like and not like. So, on one hand, it does give a little variety on how you want your Frank to be. But you could argue what stuff is useful and worthless. Combo weapons still exist, which is good. Because, I mean, after all, ever since it was introduced too, it's just continued forever. So, there was no reason to get rid of something that has always been a lot of fun. And encourage getting items that would normally not be that useful by themselves. Honestly, though, combo weapons can still be a lot of use, but obviously different ones have ups and downs. They added kind of an elemental thing with, like, having poison toxicity options and that, which is a little weird. I mean, ice and fire has always been a thing with them, but, like, these weird, like, toxicity elemented ones you can get are kind of weird. But otherwise, you still get a lot of the fun, crazy shit. A lot of them are returning items with some new items, and you'll find ones that you'll like in that. It's been greatly simplified, where you just basically need the main item, and then like something like, say, electronic to mix with it and that. So overall, a lot of them are simplified to be made. Vehicles are also in the game again, just like in the third entry. And again, you can also make combo vehicles. Honestly, I didn't make too much use out of combo vehicles. Mostly I just used them for transportation most of the time myself. But it's an option and some extra fun if you want. Similar to 3, they added all kinds of extra shit you can find and unlock and shit. And it's just a whole bunch of collectibles and shit, and just they're there if you want more things to do, but otherwise not a biggie. And again, like 3, there's also like other stuff like how many zombies you kill and do this, explore that and stuff. So you get a lot of those, and they'll all unlock PP and some money for you. And money is a continued thing, though the usefulness of things to buy is subjective based on your craftiness or laziness, I guess. The more lazy you are, the more valuable money can be, because you can get combo weapons and shit with money instead of needing to go make them yourselves from stolen merchants, but that has its ups and downs, obviously. And then a new thing with your combat is the exo suits. These are military suits that make no fucking sense. They just literally are pulled out of your ass. Just, these are a thing. Like, if I could steal one and he could combo shit and do stuff with them, and they're pretty powerful. There was an ice one I got that was really good for fucking leveling up in. Like, I got a shit ton of EXP with that. And I never found a way to make it again because the place I got from Lockdown Whip. But these things are powerful, but to me, they make no fucking sense in the story. They're just there laying around everywhere with no real explanation of anything about them. They're just so weird. And honestly, to me, they take away the fun aspect of, mangling through random shit to try and make weapons and survive a zombie apocalypse. It's just it's like just injecting Halo suits into the game. Now, on top of the normal story mode, they did add a bunch of other shit. There's a multiplayer cooperative option. That's its own story, which... good luck finding anyone who has this fucking game to play with. I've tried on multiple occasions, never found a single soul, can't really blame anyone. The matches are basically just a bunch of random do this, do that, and fucking get heal after all that shit. I didn't get very far by myself, because it gets harder to do by yourself. It's clearly made for cooperation, so... I don't really know if the story really peters into anything. It doesn't really seem like much. Just an excuse to have some cooperation. There's a mini golf, and like I said, you also got Frank Rising, which if you get the PS4 version, you can just play right off the bat after you update. Also, to note for the update stuff, you have to go to the PSN store and download it off the PSN store. It's not simply a update the game kind of thing, which is a little confusing, actually. You can find people Googling, like, even I have to fucking, be like, something seems wrong here, because it says there's no updates. What? Now, along with the timer being removed, another element that was removed was psychopaths. Yes, another key thing with Dead Rising games. Psychopaths don't exist. Then, in replacement of them, are maniacs.
But this here's the sovereign land of the mighty Queen Sandra, so ye can go and fucketh right off!
Well, hey there. I did not know the Historical Shithead Society was in town.
What did you just say to me?
Well, if Queen Sandra is half as inbred as she sounds, then she's my kind of lady.
You'll pay for that!
Your mother was a gopher and your father smells of body spray.
Hey! Open up so I can teach this old fart a lesson!
So maniacs are encounters of humanoid people trying to do something. They're pretty weird. There's a few that are a little humorous, like the Santa Claus one, but honestly, like, I ran into, like, this one of a bunch of fucking weird knights that acted more like a bizarre cult. It's just really strange. They have no personality. Though I will admit, there's a fun encounter with the Maniacs. I'll reference to Dead Rising 1. I won't spoil that, but other than that, the Maniacs are really just completely soulless husks of just human enemies. They have no real story, cool cutscenes, or any background to what's fucking going on. They're just, hey, there's a pirate-themed gang here on the pirate ship. They're holding someone hostage. Go kill them. And you just go there and you just begin fighting. No intro, no story, no interaction. I don't really know why they got rid of psychopaths. Some people think the more, how should we say, sensitive things going on might be partially the reason. I don't know. I think it's kind of stupid because you still kill a bunch of people. Tons of violence is still happening. Tons of murdering is still going on. So I don't think it really changes anything myself. But hey, who the fuck knows? Personally, I think it has to do with the development. Honestly, you can find several videos that have very interesting background stuff about what did happen in the background of this game being made. And honestly, I believe a lot of that shit because, like, I can't quite remember how many years they claimed they made this game in, but honestly, like, I remember this one guy's video where he said, if that's how long it took you to make this, then honestly, I would feel ashamed to be a video game developer.
Y'all worked 3 hard years on this just to get to this moment to first show it off to people. Is it demoralizing a little to have your moment sort of gone a little early on you, or do you just brush it off and you don't even worry about it? Kind of what, as a creator who's worked so hard for something for so long, how does that affect you when that stuff happens?
I agree, because, like, this game, clearly when you look at a lot of this shit, it clearly was super rushed, quite horribly. And I believe Maniacs were just a quick patch to replace the more in-depth, interesting psychopaths with really lazy and just quick human enemies. So in a way, you could be like, oh, see, they're still crazy people. They just don't have big, in-depth stories or anything.
Seems few years later in a video by Did You Know Gaming sources claim things that happened behind the curtains of the game's development. This would mean many interviews were indeed just full of lies. And cover-ups of what happened, if all the info is true, would also mean the claim of 3 years was counting the unapproved work they did before starting on what became what we have now.
Now, in the actual game, Frank can actually do kind of a stealthy thing, so he can kind of walk around and do stealth attacks and stuff. Not really that big useful. Probably the more human interaction scenes with, like, the military that are probably the more justifiable scenes for that. Otherwise, not really a big thing, because after all, this is a big hack and slash type game, so seemed kind of like a needless thing. You have the return of the circle wheel system from Dead Rising 3. But what's different in Dead Rising 4 is you have separate ones. Unlike Dead Rising 3 that just shared all of them, you have the melee wheel, you have the ranged wheel, and you have the throwable weapons wheel. And you can carry multiple healing items, and you just hit down to down one of your healing items. And unlike a lot of the other entries where healing items had a lot more variety in how useful and unuseful they are, like, like in the older ones where like it may heal 1 square and another might heal 4 squares. Pretty much healing items are all pretty just universal, about the same. There probably is some difference, but it's not noticeable really at all. You just carry a bunch of healing items and just fucking use them as needed. Otherwise, like, the general concept of the game functions basically like a Dead Rising game. You know, you can jump, you can climb up shit that's reachable, move about, flanks all skidwheely, and, you know, slash and hack and stab shit. Now, maybe this is a subjective opinion when you look at, like, Frank, the zombies, or the other NPCs, but everyone looks ugly. And that's saying something when Frank, the original Frank, was designed to be an ugly American with a big nose. Graphically, everyone looks ugly as fuck to me. Like, I don't know what the hell they were trying to do with the graphics of this game. Like, I don't get it. Like, to me, it's sad that, like, a fucking Xbox 360 game looks so much better to me than this fucking game. And it has a lot of texture pop-in shit. So you're definitely not getting steady looks either. Not that Dead Rising 1 was perfect. After all, Dead Rising 1 had to handle a lot of zombies fucking appearing all the time. Also, carrying over from Dead Rising 3, you do have the ability to run again with a limited amount of stamina, which you can build up through various means of your skill ups, so you can run faster. Which, of course, would probably be a useful feature if you were on a timer, so it seems kind of weird they would actually include that, or even bother to waste time to program that when there actually is no longer a timer. Now, if you played Dead Rising 3... if you had to, like, save someone in that, you might remember having trouble getting the characters to finally, like, be like, oh, cool, I'm rescued, or be confused what triggered them from getting rescued. Well, Dead Rising 4 now puts a little skull above all the enemies associated with the NPC, and new zombies can walk in and become part of it. But it marks all the associated zombies that are currently making the survival not, you know, be like, oh, I'm saved. On top of that, on a more baffling decision in the game, similar to Dead Rising 3's mix of having an autosave and manual saving with no save slots, you again have no save slots. You can only have one progressive game at a time, and there is no manual saving. You cannot manually save, in a normal sense at least. The game only has autosaving. However, people found out there is a way to trigger a save. So how do you trigger this? You take a picture. Taking the picture triggers autosaving. And that's basically your way of quote-unquote saving. The way they fucking design this is stupid as fuck. And the fact that is an incredibly common thing for people to ask how to fucking save in your game is a joke. How the fuck did you screw this up? As mentioned, there's a money system now, so when you go to a merchant, you can unlock maniac weapons, and you can purchase them. Different merchants will have base weapons, and you can also buy combo weapons. Defeating some of the purpose of you making any of the weapons. You can just stockpile a bunch of weapons you want. And of course, additional slots on your wheels are tied up by your skill points. But, seeing as there's no system to encourage you to keep going forward in the game, you can infinitely farm as much to your heart's degree to unlock whatever skills you want, since you get the option to unlock what you want. The only thing that bars you from a few skills are manuals. Getting rid of the manual system they've had since Dead Rising 1, now manuals will unlock a few additional skills. And without it, you can't unlock it. So it will remain locked until you find the manual for it, and then you put a skill point in it. Other than that, nothing bars you from basically just keep unlocking the things you want. If you're the type of person that wants to collect all the thingamabobs all around town, you can buy maps that will help key you into all the little collectible things all around the town areas. Each safe house has a number of maps for their area, so you get that option. You can also get lots of different clothing options. Which, you know, if you like dressing up, I mean, you get a number of nice options. There's a lot of Capcom references in this. In between your different cases, you're basically going to have the similar thing where you'll get calls and find people that need rescue. In between the cases, you will, like similar entries, find survivors in that and be told of survivors that need rescued. Dead Rising 3 and Case Frank both dumbed down the rescue process immensely, with lesser survivors the guide to a safe house. Dead Rising 4 pushes that even more. There was even less work to be done when saving survivors. However, you are encouraged to save them nevertheless. A lot of the different districts, they'll have a safe house, and leveling up the safe house as you rescue people will make them have greater goods and supplies for you to buy and restock on. So it is encouraged to build the safe houses upward. In my playthrough, I did not max out any of the safe houses, so it's not really necessary to grind, but if you want to do everything, or get all those additional maps and some of those goodies that are locked behind different tiers or levels of a survival little shelter, then you're gonna have to. Otherwise, like I said, there's a lot of different little safe houses and secrets and stuff you can find, but are not necessary. So another new thing that's in Dead Rising 4 is investigating. So your camera's outfitted with additional stuff other than just taking pictures. You can now use it to see in the dark and find evidence and things. And these moments will come up in the game, and they're terrible. They're very, very terrible. I don't like them. The idea of it's okay, but the way it's executed just seems really... ugh. And it slows down the pace of the game, honestly. It feels like just a lazy pad-out system myself. And while I didn't have any severely broken problems with the game isn't polished well, though. As I said, there are textual pop-ins, weird collisional issues sometimes with enemies, and everything just looks really blah and ugly in a kind of a rushed way. And it's weird considering they had more time to polish this version over the original launch version on the Xbox One. And I can only imagine how that one looks with no patches and shit. Generally, this is a terrible game in every way of this franchise. Survivability is poor. I will say it's a little harder than Dead Rising 3, which is kind of sad to actually say, but I think it's for the wrong reasons. Because zombies take a lot of hits at you, regardless of you pounding their faces into the ground. So when you go into a giant mob swinging giant battle axes, you still take a lot of hits from that, which weren't as common in the older entries in my subjective opinion. Though you did get a few whacks in the older games, it didn't feel like how it happens in this game. And that's about like the only real good thing I can say is the game is slightly more difficult than 3, but otherwise it's a terrible fucking game in every imaginable way. They just made everything cheaper, worse, and terrible. Gameplay experience, challenge experience is still awful, even though I would say it's a little harder than 3. And the story is so fucking awful. All the characters are fucking awful. Like, none of the characters, in my opinion, are likable or interesting. The other entries, especially Dead Rising 2, 1, and Off the Record, had interesting and memorable psychopaths and survivors. Fucking Dead Rising 3 even had a few memorable characters, in my opinion. Did I like any of them a whole lot? Not much. But I remember a few of them way more than the fucking characters in this game. All the survivors in this game are 100% forgettable, and with good reason. Because the game doesn't appear to remember any of them. Characters will actually literally change. If you go back to a shelter later in the game, you might not actually see the same fucking people there. So survivors are just completely forgettable. And the story characters are just terrible. Fucking characters. Including whatever the fuck they did with Frank. Before we get into major spoiler territory, let's just make a quick comment on, do I recommend this game? Of course not. Fuck no. This game should only be played if you want to be a Dead Rising completionist. There are so many other games you can play. Play any other Dead Rising game. Play Chop Till the Drop. It's a vastly better game than this fucking pile of shit. And it's not even the same kind of game. It's a reimagining of Dead Rising 1 with the RE4 Wii's engine. And that's still a better game than this piece of crap. And that doesn't even have the timer either. But this game, if you're going to get this game, get it as cheap as fucking possible. You can get the base game for about $30, it seems. And if you get the Frank's Big Package version, you're looking at about $40, it seems, in the digital front. If you want physically, it's really fucking cheap. We're talking about $10 to $15 range if you want the physical version. Though keep in mind, the Xbox One version does not come with Frank Rising, meaning you will have to purchase that separately, which is $10. So if you have a PS4, you're better off getting the PS4 version, because even though it's not on the disc, it's free with the game. With that, let's get into spoilers some. So I said the game is a retcon piece of garbage, and it is. It basically essentially texturizes like the whole point of Dead Rising 1 in the mall. Like, basically, this game makes it where the Professor Barbary, the old dude from fucking Dead Rising 1, I can't say his damn name.
And if he gets away with Dr. Barnaby, none of our questions will be answered.
But essentially, the game says he has a secret underground lab where he was making experiments to make people immortal by being zombies with consciousness. Sounds so fucking stupid and completely disrespectful to the themes and meaning of Dead Rising 1 and everything that happened. I know we all made fun of how the fuck did they make zombie bees when they were trying to find ways to make more cattle meat. I get that. We've all made fun of that with Dead Rising 1. But now it's just even stupider. So the plot is about the military finding this shit, and one of their people accidentally get turned into these super immortal zombies. And now they're running around destroying shit while the military is trying to capture them to use them as a weapon. Frank's trying to figure out what the fuck any of them doing, and everyone else is either trying to power grab or survive. But yet all the characters are fucking terrible, annoying, or stupid. Frank entire personality is completely different in this fucking game. He makes so many stupid fucking jokes. It just doesn't feel like Frank at all. And your student, who you went back to basically rescue in this, treats you like a piece of shit trying to kill you and sells you out and like a complete hypocrite. Like, she literally comes off as like a fucking social justice warrior, Twitter warrior, keyboard warrior type person. It's just like, fuck. I mean, don't get me wrong. Frank isn't pure perfect either. That's right, Frankie boy. I remember you taking that picture when the cultists were going to kill someone. Tisk, tisk. So, don't get me wrong. Frank has his own little sins too, but fuck. So I'd like to add, with, retconning and shit that doesn't make sense, you gotta keep in mind the zombie outbreak has been cured up to this point. So, Dead Rising 3 takes place in 2021. Dead Rising 4 takes place 1 year after, in 2022. Now, on one hand, we could say, well, it's only been a year, so there's remnants of zombie-type stuff left, which could make sense if it wasn't for the fact that this giant megaplex mall that got built was built for the Christmas season of this year. So it brings up the subject of, why is there a zombie shelter inside the mall? We could bring up an argument saying, oh, the town around it was rebuilt and, they had zombie stuff in case of an outbreak. But if the mall was built this year for Black Friday and the holiday season, why the fuck does it have a zombie shelter? Answer me that, Batman. But yeah, that's basically the plot. You're just finding out the super soldier dude, kick his fucking ass, and then you escape. Except you don't. The end is utter bullshit. Unlike many of the other entries that have multiple endings depending on the things you do, and if you ran out of time, how much of the case you figure out. So there's no timer and the story only progresses by doing the story. There is no multiple endings or anything in this fucking game. It ends the same way no matter what you do. You all get to a helicopter and Frank lets go because the zombies are going to use him to pull the helicopter back down. And he fucking dies! Frank West, who survived multiple encounters with zombies, dies horrifically on a fucking rooftop. Fucking hell. And that's the end. Now, of course, if you were around back when this originally came out on the Xbox One, you probably heard a lot of outrage about the fact that the game ended in such a fucking horrendous way. Then they released it, Dead Rising 4, Frank Rising. Dead Rising 4 Frank Rising is a modification of Dead Rising 4 where you play as a fucking zombie. You turned into a super zombie where you kept your conscience, and now the city is about to be fucking exploded again. That's not a shocker. At least that's one tradition we're keeping, right? So now you have a limited time. Wait a minute, what? The timer? That's right, you're the timer! So yeah, for Frank Rising, they brought back the counter. So the town area is going to get fucking bombed. And you have this time to try and figure out if you can save yourself. As a smart zombie, you'll use zombie powers. So Frank Rising changes up a lot of shit. So first thing, you do not level up anymore by a traditional means. Now you have to gather zombification powers from the little fly queens there. So basically, you'll have to collect queen wasps throughout the environment and do challenges with them to actually unlock all of your zombie powers. In your new zombie form, many dead rising things are thrown in the trash. It's an interesting idea, to be fair, but yeah, it's even less dead rising. You'll have zombie powers, able to spit shit, do giant yells, do big leaps, sprint around, and you don't have the ability to use any items anymore. So you might be like, how do you heal now? Well, you feast upon the living in undead. Eating a human or a zombie, you can heal yourself, meaning everyone's a healing power, though you activate the heal by using your combo, so you have to build up a few hits before, but otherwise, yeah, you can just keep healing. As a zombie, there's a bit of a more focus on having a lot more humanoid combatants in your way on top of the zombies. But just like the main game, you will be fighting zombies and humans. One other thing this game does is it actually has 2 endings. And sadly, to get the good ending, you need to get all the queen wasps. Needless to say, I didn't get the good ending my first try. I haven't gotten it yet. It's something I've been meaning to actually get back to add to my play list of the game. Well, a neat little idea since they went in the direction with the super zombie thing. Overall, it's just really, in my opinion. It's not dead rising. But as like a side game thing, I mean, it was only $10. And it comes for free with the PS4 version, as I said. So it's a little something extra, and it basically ends the game. It's essentially selling you the ending for Dead Rising 4. Wow, that sounds like a similar PS3 game Capcom did too. Huh. But yeah, it's probably not very hard to guess what happens in 2 endings. One ending, things don't go so well for everyone. In another ending, things went great for everyone. Now, Frank does cure his zombie problem in both endings, but some other people may not be as fortunate depending on which ending you get. And that's pretty much what Dead Rising 4 ends. Oddly enough, the game never really addresses doing anything about the zombies other than bombing them. I mean, you think a new zombie outbreak that overrides all cures that they've done up to this point would probably be a world concerning thing, considering how much, it fucked up the world. You think it'd be pretty concerning, but I guess, the game doesn't really go into that. But yeah, this game's a fucking mess. And when like I said, if you look up videos about the development of it, you can find lots of interesting things about Vancouver wanting to, develop other games, do other ideas, try to use other properties that Capcom had. And, they apparently, developed other games as, what's the word I'm thinking of, where you, show it, a prototype, you show it to them to see if they're okay in that. Vancouver, fucking destroyed itself doing all these things. And, I could understand wanting to do other properties or wanting to do something else and shit. But, you gotta also do what your boss says to a certain extent, they're the ones that pay you in that. So, if you don't like making Dead Rising and they're not letting you do anything else, then you probably want to just go somewhere else. But instead, the whole place fucking crashed and burned. This was the final real thing they fucking did. It just was fucking blah. And the fact that some of the ideas you can hear about from some of the devs on things they were going to potentially do after this, before they were shit-canned, is crazy. Apparently, they had a crazy idea to do with Chuck and his daughter, which I don't quite remember the details off the top of my head, but I don't remember them sounding good. Now, we got the new version of Dead Rising 1 that has updated graphics, but a lot of censorship and oddball changes that, you know, may leave a pretty sour taste in an OG fan's mouth. I hope to actually check it out once it gets a bit of a price decrease, personally, but that'll be in the future. But honestly, I don't see a lot of future potential at Dead Rising, at least in this storyline. Personally, I think Capcom should just make a new universe, because they solved the zombie thing in Dead Rising 3. They did a Borderlands 2 thing, where the decision of what they did had ramifications for the rest of the series. It might have been a regrettable choice for, like, sequels. And they would just been better off just making a new fucking Dead Rising game and a new universe and zombies and shit, instead of trying to forcibly do this. Now, I guess since they didn't really comment on how they solved the zombie problem, the new zombie problem, they could go into that, but honestly, I feel like they should just unretcon this if they're gonna ever make a sequel in this universe. But yeah, those are all personal opinions, though, obviously. But yeah, this game's an atrocity. Please, for the love of humanity, don't play this. Don't, please, no, just save yourself from the suffering. I'm so pissed off at this game. I can't believe this even got okayed. This, honestly, is the kind of game that probably should have just been fucking canceled. You know, like, and this might upset some Capcom people. Believe me, this is hard to say. I love Mega Man Legends, and we all know that we were all upset when Capcom canceled Mega Man Legends 3. We will never know what the fuck they had made and how it played. But this is a case scenario where sometimes there's a reason they cancel shit. I don't know if Mega Man Legends 3 was a situation like this. But to me, this was the kind of game, it was probably better to fucking shit can it. Because it was so terrible and insulting to the franchise, the fan base, and the story of Dead Rising. But yeah, that's Dead Rising 4 and its fucking paid fucking ending. It's garbage. Gobosh. Go play Dead Rising 1. Go play the new version. Go play Dead Rising 2. Hell, even play Dead Rising 3. Chop to the drop. Anything. Maybe even the fucking mobile game. I don't actually know anything about the mobile game. I heard that actually got recently, like, saved and archived, so that might be interesting to check out, to be honest. But, yeah, just, it's a fucking awful game. It's sad. Like, this game was such a sad fucking thing to the fan base. I just don't know. And, you know, that one guy with the glasses who was always in the interviews and everything about this game, you, buddy, I hope you have no fucking career in Dead Rising. Well, not Dead Rising. I mean, I hope you have no career at all in the game industry. Because you were Todd from fucking Bethesda. You were the Capcom Tom. You fucking lied through your teeth about fucking everything. Like, I remember he had, like, an interview where he fucking talked about, oh, we did playtesting, and people didn't like the timer thing, so we got rid of it. And yet, it's the only thing you basically hear is a huge fucking flag over this game. I mean, there's a lot of other shit people talk about, too, but, I mean, it's, like, one of the first things a lot of people point out. Joe Nichols, I don't know. We'll just call him Joe. This guy was the director of Dead Rising 4. He was actor in Marvel Nemesis Wise of the Imperfects. He was additional crew, whatever the hell that means, for Connect Sports Season 2. Looking into the guy, he claims he's worked in games for 18 years before joining Capcom. I'd love to know what other shit you worked on. I love in this one Q&A, he's like, getting asked, what details were you particular about or unwilling to compromise on? We really wanted Dead Rising 4 to look better than the previous game, and we were not willing to compromise on visuals or frame rate. I'm happy to say both are better for Dead Rising 4. We spent a lot of time on game performance, so we have hundreds and hundreds of zombies on screen at the same time while keeping the frame rate and resolution smooth. That was the key for us all this time. Well, bad news. Game looks fucking ugly as hell. So I dug around and found a bigger list of things he worked on. So the last thing he worked on was Still Wakes the Deep. Before Dead Rising 4, he worked on The Sims 4, 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 Sims 4. Those were all different DLCs. I did not say all the other stuff like the Cats and Dogs, Snowy Escape, and all that. They were all different pack things for Sims 4. That's between 2017 to 2021. Then there was the Connect Sports Season 2, which we went on a different page. Then NHL Snapshot, Soccer World Cup, Germany Championship League, Soccer. Then there was the Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects that we seen, Face Breaker, and those are audio, Bloodlines, audio, Total Club Manager, audio, 2 soccer games, audio, and he has special thanks to a bunch of sports games, Fight Night Round 3, and The Simpsons Road Rage. The majority of this guy's career is The Sims and sports games. Now, to be fair, Dead Rising 4 was 2016. So, basically, his last game before Dead Rising was Connect Sports. And then after that, he became part of Sims 4's team. And then he went on to be part of Still Wakes the Deep in 2024. So I will have to remember that if I ever check out Still Wakes the Deep. Because this guy was a fucking liar. He either was delusional as fuck in all his interviews, or he is a liar. Because they knew if this game didn't sell, they were dead. And I think they all knew that. Like, if this game didn't sell, they were fucking dead. They were dead. Capcom Vancouver was dead. And they were like, fucking, it gone. Anyway. With that, I'm gonna go shopping in the remains of the mall before the bombs hit. I'm gonna get a few goodies when number Dead Rising by. Maybe when I finally get the new version of the Dead Rising 1, maybe I'll have something to be a little bit more cheery about. But to me, it feels like we probably won't really see a new Dead Rising anytime soon, which both is a shame. But even a spiritual sequel, I think, would be a good thing, at least. Like I said, I think a new universe would be a good idea, continuing the franchise forward at this point. But hey, maybe this hopes we'll get a complete version of Dead Rising 2 with the prequel and all the fucking case shit.